Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this is part 2 of part 2, or part 2B, whichever way you want to say it. And we're going to try our best to finish up this knurling tool, which has given me fits every which way. And of course, mainly on account of I deviated from, from the instructions. You guys knew I was going to deviate from the instructions anyway. I mean, last project was what, belt grinder. I deviated from the instructions right off. So I guess that's just one of those things us rednecks do. And the other day I got a note from Steve Lang over at Shark River Machine. There's his shark there, and he sent me a couple of nice little charts here for changing sizes and tap sizes and drill sizes and things. And he sent me a nice sticker for his channel, Shark River Machine. And he's got a nice channel there, and you probably ought to run over there and take a little look at it after you watch my video, of course, and see what he's got going on. Chances are probably there's more of you subscribed over there than over here. I don't know how that could happen. Anyway, just that's the way it goes. I'm not going to do a lot of shooting the bull here. We're going to get right on into part 2 and get it over with. Now we hope. Okay? Now the plans here, right here for this last piece, call for a 1/4-inch slot. But my knurling rollers are larger than that. They're about .313 or something. Yeah, 315. So I'm sure that's 8 millimeters. I don't want to make it a 1/4-inch wide. I couldn't get the rollers in there. So what I'm going to do is I'll make it 8 millimeters. I don't have any metric end mills, but well, I do have a 6 millimeter. But nevertheless, I can cut into there and widen it out to fit, So that's what we will do. And I need also to mark off these nice, neat little corners. And I'll do that with my Randy Richards scribe and my little protractor. And then we'll be in business, maybe. Shouldn't take much time to make these two little guys. When you use this saw, you need hearing protection and eye protection, and then you can just cut like crazy. I'm going to be a bit generous with the cut, because with that thing hanging way out the back, it's probably not laying in there real straight. I'm going to cut off 4 pieces like that, because the drawing says to make 2, but I've got 2 different size rollers I'm going to use, so I'm going to make 4. Alright, I'm squaring off all 4 of the roller holders at the same time, and I'll cut the slot in all 4 of them at the same time, and that should make everything identical, maybe. since I made 4 of these little boogers, I'll set up a stop there, and I'm going to drill all of them, and all on one side, and then I'm going to turn them over and set the stop and drill all of them on the other side. That way all the holes should be perfectly in alignment with each other. And perfectly in the middle, center, whatever you want to call it. I just discovered a disturbing discrepancy. Tom's knurls are smaller diameter than my knurls, so I'm going to have to go deeper than 600 thousandths in that slot so that the center of the knurl will line up with the hole there. Otherwise, I can't put the little shaft in the middle of them and they won't ever turn. They'll be too tight. So I'm going to go in and cut 50 or 60 thousandths more out of there. So that should make them fit. Well, to say that the angles on my knurl holders are not exactly like Tom's is sort of an understatement. The front ones there by the wheel, they were pretty easy to get right, but the back ones, oh, they're terrible. Alright, so after much suffering here, I didn't use the same knurling rollers that Tom did, because they're like about $80 a set for the American made ones, somewhere around there. So I've got these that I had from eBay. These two are fairly good. They worked. I was using them before on the other tool, but they're not 1/4 inch wide, they're actually 5/16 wide. He specified 1/4 to 5/8 knurling rollers. I didn't use them, so I wound up having to use unsightly bolts to hold them in. These two guys here, these are the straight knurls, and I discovered that instead of the hole going right straight through, it's kind of like that. So they wobble some. Wonderful. And since they wobble some, I couldn't make a pin to go in it, because when I tried to put the pin through the straight holes, the darn roller would wobble and stick. So I'll have to come back. This will be one of those tying up loose ends kind of things in another video some other time. But anyway, I've got the rollers mounted, and we're going to see if they work. The fact that they're 3/4 instead of 5/8 means that I won't be able to knurl as large a stock as if I'd had the right size rollers. But I'll still be able to knurl stuff up there close to 1 inch anyway. So let me hook it on the lathe, put a piece of metal in there, and let's see what we can do. Alright, I can see that in the very near future, even if I had the right diameter rollers, that would only increase the capacity by about 1/4 inch. So in the future, I'm going to make this piece much larger, and I'll get the right knurling rollers, better quality ones at least than what I've got here, and I'll make a knurling tool that fits larger things, because this one's, I would guess this one will top out about 3/4 inch, even if I have the right rollers in it. But let's go ahead and take a look at what it'll do. I didn't have the tool post tightened down. Well, I think that's a really nice knurl. It's a straight knurl, and it looks like it came out really nice. So the whole concept of this knurling tool is really good. It works. The whole concept of buying cheap knurls off of eBay doesn't really work very well at all, because I wound up here with some odd stuff. Like I said, I think these rollers kind of wobble a little bit like that, but still they made a knurl, so I guess that's a-okay, huh? There you go. So let's pull it out of there. That doesn't look too bad, does it? Got their focus length. So why don't we swap out the rollers to those others and see what kind of a knurl it's going to make. Alright, now I've got diamond rollers in there, and we'll see what I can get from them. Anchor up. Add a little bit of oil. I can say this much. You mix aluminum and oil, you get a really nasty paste. Well, take a look at that. Looks like a pretty nice knurl to me. Nice definition. And it was done pretty quick. So, the whole idea of this knurling tool is great. The execution by me wasn't too hot. But I'm going to make another bigger one. Not right off, but eventually. And this another bigger one that I make. Let me zoom this thing back out where we can see what we're doing here. The new one I make will have the right size knurling rollers, and it'll be a little larger frame so that I can get larger diameters in there. But that's good. That does good. Alright, so in a second we'll summarize this thing, all the deviations that I deviated. Well, let's talk about all the places where I deviated here. This piece was described as a weldment made out of mild steel. I made it out of aluminum. It was supposed to be made out of mild steel and case hardened. And I'm sure the reason for the case hardening is these little marks here that were left behind by the set screws, grub screws if you want to call them that. Number two, I was supposed to use 5/8 diameter wheels. I used 3/4, so that made it, you know, they can't go as far back up in the slot there, so that decreases by 1/8 of an inch the size of thing that you can knurl. Now this was supposed to be made out of steel, and it's made out of steel, and I don't know if he wanted it blued or what, but it's painted black, and I've managed to smear that a little bit and got it dirty already. And these little knurl holders were supposed to look a lot better than that on the little 45-degree angles. But even with me deviating and messing up, it still turns out some really good knurls. So let's move on from here and see if Bubba or Ole or Thibodeau or somebody's up to something. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you all about
Bubba here in a minute, but first I want to tell you, you need to go over to Michael McCoy's channel and watch his video about Granny and the X-Lax. I think you'll get a good laugh out of that. I know I did. Yeah, give it a shot. And anyway, the other day I come across Bubba's Uncle Bubba, and there he was, homeless out on the side of the road, you know, one of those cardboard signs, you know, we'll thank you for money. You know, he ain't going to do no work, I don't think. But anyway, he was out there with the sign, you know, and I said, how did you get into this situation, you know? And he says, well, he says, up to last week, he said, I had everything. He said, I had it all. He said, I had plenty to eat, and my clothes were washed and pressed, and I had a roof over my head, I had TV and the internet, I went to the gym and the pool and the library. He said, I was working on my MBA online. And he said, I had no bills and no debt. He said, I even had full medical and dental coverage. And, you know, I sort of felt sorry for him. I said, well, what happened to you? Was it drugs or alcohol or divorce? What was it? Uncle Bubba says, no. He said, well, none of that. He says, I got out of prison. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.